Dun, 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 dun.
I was
Wow.
wondering. I thought you might have had bars. Honestly, I was like,
Oh,
maybe he's got-
no.
Maybe
My freshman year of college, my friend Chad could freestyle like crazy, and he asked me to try one time, and I got 3 bars in, and it did not go much further than that. But he said it didn't stink, so that's my claim to fame, I guess. It didn't stink at freestyling.
I think you could do it. I think you could pull it off.
I think I just get in my own head too much. I'm a chronic overthinker. So freestyling is tough for someone like that. Yeah,
I feel you there. But we're here to pay the bills. Jake and Wake. We came back together here for what we thought would be a joyous affair. And it's anything really but. This is going to be an episode full of joy. We are gonna try to make this as joyous as possible. Eventually, we have to start with the important things though. First, we have to start with the other day, Jim Trotter's allegations against the NFL and NFL owners, including Terry Pegula and Jerry Jones. So let's start with the facts of this story, and then we will go into conjecture from there. Want to lay it out.
There's a very good SAT word by you, by the way.
Conjecture? Thank you.
Yes.
So he is suing the NFL for racial allegations. I'm not going to read the affidavit. I'm not going to read the quotes. You can go look them up. You got the internet. They are not
and
good.
We encourage you to do so.
And we encourage you to do so, yes, because this is going to be a major crux of this whole thing. So the lawsuit is out there. The allegations are out there for all to read. It was allegations of certain quotes from Terry Pegula and certain quotes from Jerry Jones. Also today about the Bills-Bengals game and the owners wanting to start the game back up, which is something that I think we knew about, but said that he was told not to report on it. So just different allegations are coming out. The owners came out, all 32 of them corroborated, and other witnesses in the room together. I believe they shared it with the AP and through like Buffalo News, where I saw it first. But the story came out basically denying all allegations, said they were completely false. And that's where we stand. There's a lawsuit, and it's one man alleging many things, and all in the name of racial discrimination against the 32 NFL owners and the NFL Network. I'm not going to offer any opinions into the case. I made that mistake the other day. We don't have enough information. I'm not going to admonish anybody or anything. It's one man right now, his word against the NFL owners. And I want to make that the point. I am a public relations professional in my life, my day job. I study this stuff all the time, see how organizations respond to crises and to allegations, and how quickly they move into action. And I just want you to consider that this is one man alleging racial discrimination against a group of 32 billionaires who in the past have not exactly supported racial causes or black causes. We can bring up, I'm not having a Colin Kaepernick conversation on here, but you can start there. You can have opinions on how you feel about it one way or another, but there are stances within history of the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of context of how the owners have treated situations like this. And also just historical context of corporations and people with a lot of power and money being able to shut people up because they just don't have those resources. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but you just need to consider before you go and just back up Jim Trotter or all the owners and the billionaires and everybody else that we're dealing with. They're, first of all, they're not people you know, so you can't make any judgments beyond that. But second of all, please consider your sourcing and please consider why and how the news you are receiving is coming from and why you should be hearing it. Because that both of those things, honestly, they're both he said, she said enough where you shouldn't believe either of them 100%. But you can't believe just because all the owners said together that that's fact too, because they're going to protect themselves and they have every reason to work together and protect themselves and no incentive not to. And so just please consider sourcing, please consider where you're getting information of, and please just don't victim blame immediately. Let's get the information all together too before we do anything else. That's really the main crux of it. And if it is true, then we will have a deeper conversation about what that means for everything related to Buffalo sports and anything else. But that's where I kind of stand with it at this point.
Exactly. I think you said it perfectly. There's not much more to harp on, honestly. I mean, you know, I think, and what you say about considering sourcing and considering what you're hearing, who you're hearing it from, and why those individuals, not even Jim Trotter and the owners, but the people reporting on it, why are they reporting on it? What facts are they telling you? What are they not telling you? The most important class I ever took in college was in my 1 year at Buff State. It was called media literacy, and it was all about that. And to any college kids watching, parents watching, whether you're right or left, you cannot say that it's not important to understand media literacy. It is very, very important.
And multiple perspectives too.
Multiple perspectives, not being closed-minded. And if you argue that, oh, you're just trying to brainwash and blah, blah, blah. No, we want you to be able to make your own informed opinion about anything that is happening in this world, about any topic. It can be about the right way to cook a steak. I don't care. But like, read the article and understand where it's coming from. If it's the Liver King, you might not want to believe what the guy's saying about how you eat red meat. You know, the kind of things like that. And that's really diluting it and making it really like something far less significant than what this is. But I highly encourage, if you can find an online course on media literacy or anything like that, or if you're going to be in college or your kids are going to be in college, encourage everyone you know to be media literate, because that's what is very important right now. We don't have enough facts. We have enough evidence from the past to believe that racial discrimination does happen in the NFL. 110%. Painting end racism in the end zones is not enough to say the NFL has never been racist. 110% no.
And they took it out of the end zones too. So
great example, me. Yeah, sure.
So, no, that's it. No, it is a perfect example because they had it there.
It really is.
They had it there. And then they were like, nah, we don't.
Yeah, we ended racism enough. We ended it enough by now.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, a long way to go about it to say, wait for more facts to come out. Always believe that victims have at least some element of truth to what they are saying.
And that's the biggest thing about this in general too, is that like maybe the exact, he didn't hear it. Jim Trotter allegedly didn't hear it firsthand. It was from a source that he got it from. Okay. So maybe the quote isn't completely correct, but that doesn't mean that the sentiment or the energy in the room or the discussion topics were around those things happening too. Like there doesn't mean that if it's not the whole truth, it doesn't mean it's the full thing, which is why we should wait as more of these things come out to make full judgment.
This is the beginning.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's the beginning.
Yes. And clearly it's going to keep, things are going to keep coming too.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be something to monitor if you're a fan of just doing right by people, I guess, which is the theme of this podcast. Because Jim Trotter, if what he's saying is even remotely true, he deserved a lot better. So I hope that we'll get some answers there. And in a less, and it's just a different scenario we're in because we can't have fun on this podcast. So there was an audio that leaked last night.
Hot mic.
Yes, hot mics. Please beware of those hot mics. Of a reporter or media member in the field house who made some comments about Stefon Diggs, said that Steph does whatever he wants. He'll say F you, along the lines of those. Caught on a hot mic before his press conference. They leaked out. It was Maddie Glab from the Buffalo Bills took ownership, put out her own apology, Notes app apology to Stefon Diggs.
Notes app, great.
And the Bills community last night. And just as a journalist, owning up to a mistake, that's journalism 101. If you make a mistake like that, if you do something, you would own up to it, and I respect that. Stefon tweeted this shortly before that. I thought we would be able to leave it at that.
I did not.
Maybe it was wishful thinking, but Stefon tweeted today. I'll read through all his tweets. The audio shared was very hurtful, not all of them, and was insulting to my character and to how I was raised. I've always treated people how I want to be treated. Greet everyone with smiles and respect, from the people in our cafe to the people that keep our building clean and in order, which is something that him and Von Miller have both said. I've heard that line from them multiple times. Over the course of interviews and everything else. He then goes on to talk about how the media confuses his competitiveness for who he is as a person. Off the field, he's respectful. And he says it's hard to fight preconceived notions about you. And this is why he doesn't like dealing with the media. He understands that everybody has a job in the media. But that, remember, I'm a human. And if it ever made you or anyone else feel like you can't approach me, I apologize. Time to lock back in, forward focus. That was a summary of the tweets, but the gist of it, you kind of got there. Again, there's no admonishing here. I respect, people make mistakes. There's 2 lessons to learn. Cameras rolling, mics rolling, always, especially if you're in the media, just be careful and just always be sure to treat people in any room how you treat them if you were in the same room as them. It's a good lesson to have. I respect Maddie for coming out, apologizing, everything, but it's unfortunate this just feels like a straw that broke the camel's back with these tweets and everything else too, because he's been somebody that's been under media. I don't want to say fire, but just the microscope all summer.
Yes, the microscope is the perfect
really
word.
Not even summer, since January, since the end of the season. And he mentioned that on the Voncast yesterday too, on Von's podcast. He's like, I know the image that I left off, and I know that sits with everybody. Like, he's a very aware of the.
He's very self-aware.
Yeah.
If you don't think he is, you're so wrong. You really are. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but
keep going. It's fine.
It's so aggravating because, I truly believe until the chatter started in the offseason, there was no way that he wanted out of this city. And based on how fans have maybe talked to him on social media or now this, it's hard to imagine that as hard as 100% here now. Now he is a professional. He is a consummate professional, and he has never. You don't be the captain of a football team based on talent. Can we also say that? You don't, just because you're the best football player on your team, you're not going to be a captain. Stefon Diggs has been a captain ever since he got to Buffalo because of how he carries himself. And Sean McDermott will not. Yes, it is a player vote. But you can't say Sean McDermott doesn't have some level of input or influence on who could be voted on to be a captain. If Stefon Diggs did not conduct himself exactly the way that he says he does, with respect to everyone, no matter who they are, you see him after games tossing the ball around, or before the games, tossing the balls around with kids and everything, taking so much extra time, happy-go-lucky guy. There is such a disconnect, I think, between who Stefon Diggs as a person is and how people perceive him, as he said, because of his competitiveness. And it is just very, very aggravating to see it all kind of manifest here over the offseason and now less than a week into the season. And I know that, I don't think Maddie meant, and I'm not going to speak for her. I'm not going to. But I imagine she did not really mean he says fuck you to me when I say hello to him. I think that was hyperbole. I think it was
I think it was a conversation among friends and colleagues.
Exactly,
and
that he marches to his own drum, and he's Stephon Diggs. He knows who he is. And you know, the last thing is, you know, what you say about treating people in private how you would in public with them around. You know, the idea of character is who you are in private, not who you are when everybody's watching. You know, it kind of just goes on the same thing. Treat people with respect, whether they are around or not. And if you're going to say something about someone in private, be prepared that you could be saying that to their face as well. You know?
Yeah,
that's it.
100%.
Yeah. Love you, Stephon. Love you, Stephon. Go Bills.
Yeah, I'm with 14 all the whole way through, all the way. And if he does want out and he's gone after this year, he's one of my favorite Bills ever, no matter what. I don't think we're getting that point. I think they're going to be fine this week.
I really don't think he's going to force his way out. I
said this to Maniac on Tuesday on Trainwreck Tonight that I have more excited for this Sunday's game than I was going into last Monday, even before the game, because now I feel like whatever perceived doubts were happening as we switch into let's switch into football gear here.
Yeah.
And
great,
because Monday night, I mean, it was a thing. It was a
roller coaster.
It was a roller coaster for sure.
What time did you get to bed? Can I ask you that?
Well, Twitter got me for a little bit because I was pretty tired and I laid down and then I was scrolling. I'd say like 12:15 Central Time.
Okay, I fell asleep around 2 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it was not good. I was on my first Twitter rampage in a very.
You were. See, I woke up and I saw you going off late in the night. Actually, I did.
I had to. It was so therapeutic. It's like the first time over the summer when I threw a golf club. It was like I feel so good.
Yeah, it's true. It does feel so good to throw that golf club sometime.
It does. Yeah, I really do.
But so Monday night, like. I am more excited about Sunday because I think whatever perceived doubts there were, now they're real. Now everybody's got ammo. I tweeted out right after, like, every national take that was super biased and was like we could have defended against, they all just got their fodder for the rest of the season. And it's because it happened on Monday Night Football. It's because at the most watched Monday Night Football of all time. It's because it happened against an Aaron Rodgers-less Jets, which nobody in the world expected. I mean, and when you talk about roller coaster, can I talk about something that
I hate roller coasters, by the way.
I'm not a big roller coaster fan either.
Good,
but can we talk about Josh Allen for a second? And no one's going to bring this up on First Take on any Bills discussion on any national TV show or anything like that. But let's just consider, as I like to talk about the human beings of these sports.
Yes.
And you know that. Let's talk about Josh Allen, the man who I heard, I think 3 different podcasts this year, and I'm sure multiple more, say that Aaron Rodgers was his idol, was becoming a great mentor and friend to him. I know they've golfed together. Pretty sure he said they texted like every single day at one point, or they talked before games.
I just imagine Josh Allen laying on his bed on his stomach with his legs up.
He's had Aaron Rodgers poster in his room. I know he said that before. Like he had.
You know the meme of like the guy and the girl texting at night, and it's like really dark and purple. That's Aaron.
That's him. That's literally
them. That is them.
That's legitimately them. So imagine being that man, watching your idol pop his fucking Achilles in front of the world. I'm sorry, and then think about the last time this team played on fucking Monday Night Football too. And just like being like, what the hell is happening in my, like, it's not the same, not as serious, obviously, but still like traumatizing things to see. Like just something that is, I don't know. I just didn't think about that until like yesterday. And I'm like, man, like, I don't know what I would do if I was playing my idol in one of the biggest football games, season openers ever. Maybe one of the biggest week 1 games literally in the history of the league. And you see something like that happen. Like, I just feel like your mind wouldn't. A guy who is naturally all over the place, like calm is like we're trying to get him to calm all the time. Feels like that might have had an effect on him in the game. You can't talk about, and you can't bring that up. It's not actual reason. This is pure just speculation, everything, but just trying to consider what emotions could have been going through and explain a super sporadic performance. And I feel like that has to be taken into account. And please, Aaron, I hope we see him next year. He seems like
I really do too.
And that's now I'm cheering for him because that's fucking terrible. That's stupid.
I never thought
Get rid of turf. Get rid of turf, all of it. Like, it's so ridiculous. His foot would have just slid if that wasn't a turf field. There's so many different things, but it was so sad. Like, we talked to Rob Ryan. I felt so bad for Rob Ryan and just Jets fans. Like, who cares? Like, I don't care if I don't like any of those teams. That's just weak. Like, it's inconceivable still for me to think that I watched that happen. I legit thought it was, I'm a big wrestling fan. I legit thought he was pulling like WWE shit.
And he was going to Undertaker out of a coffin or something.
Yes. I was like, oh, he hurt his ankle on the first drive. Yeah. He's running back out there at halftime. He doesn't care if they're down 14 points. He's going to bring them back. And that was, it was a nice reminder that sports is real. This is real life. That shit don't happen. But shout out Aaron. I hope he comes back. But it's just like, all that we just talked about was the first like 5 minutes of this game.
It was a literal, his Jets career was a literal New York minute. Like, actually, it defines the phrase. And it was really sad. I had a friend, a Jets fan, who was at the game, and he had such a bad weekend leading into it. I guess he went to some music festival in New Jersey that got rained out all 3 days. But before it got rained out, he lost his phone at the festival and had to buy a new one. Oh, no. And then he goes to this tailgate, and he's just emotionally depleted. And I'm here watching the game with his girlfriend, Victoria, and she says, I know you don't need to hear this, but Zach really needs a win tonight. Like, he's had a bad week. He's had a worse weekend. Like, he really needs this. And then Aaron Rodgers goes down, and I'm like, oh my God, my poor friend might not make it back from New Jersey this weekend. And we were texting the entire time. And when he started to chirping back, I said, you know what, you guys are going to sign Carson Wentz. So I have no sympathy. It's going to get worse. I promise you. But in that moment, it was just like, I'm sitting there on the floor of my friend's apartment watching this game thinking, this isn't how I wanted to win. And over again, I say, I'm really upset we're going to win this way. And I kept saying it. And I kept saying it. And I see, oh, wow, the Bills are -5.5. I'm going to hammer that live right now. And I think everybody got a little too complacent. And, I think that before I get into that part, your note about Josh is completely valid. You don't know how everybody reacts to information and stimuli, if you will, if we're going to use a scientific term, in very, very different ways, whether it's information or something that just happens in front of you, something you experience. Everybody reacts differently to everything, both in mind and action. And Josh, he's not like Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow, I think they said like his resting heart rate is so low, he could be a serial killer. Like his resting heart rate in serious moments. Josh is not like that. He's erratic, and that's what we love about him. And that's why he's a great quarterback.
Yes.
But it didn't manifest well for him last night. And it didn't manifest well throughout the entire team because we went a quarter and a half. And I guess this is where we pivot to maybe possibly Dorsey. We went a quarter and a half without targeting Stephon Diggs. Mm-hmm. And I think if Aaron Rodgers was in the game, we don't do that. We put the pedal to the metal. Like, I remember, was it 2 or 3 years ago now, where the biggest criticism of the Bills was they kill the really bad teams and they barely beat or lose to the good teams. And last night, 3 years ago, Bills would have been a game where they really, really killed a bad team. But I think there was, when was it? I think it was in the Brian Flores lawsuit, if you remember. In that, somehow baked into there, was a little paragraph about how Brian Daboll didn't like working with Sean McDermott. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because Brian Daboll was kick their teeth.
Which is crazy.
Fucking Campbell. I want to curb stomp these bitches, and we're gonna win by 30. So no matter what happens, a game is never in doubt. And McDermott is very much not that. He is very conservative, and I think Dorsey doesn't necessarily have an issue with trying to win a football game that way. And I think with this quarterback, I think you kind of need to. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of great points you made through there. There's the relationship, whatever the relationship is with Dorsey, Josh, and McDermott, there's a different dynamic than there was with McDermott, Dable, and Allen. Now, there's a couple things that can be spoken to that. One, my theory, I think I have two working theories now, because I think that Josh is also a 26-year-old, $250 million quarterback, or whatever that total money is. And he's going to have a lot more say than he would have had when Dable is, screaming at his face in the New England game, or just even 100%. 2020 when the breakout year. And touch on the 2020 thing, which is funny enough, that still remains his best year. And you talked about Joe Burrow and the erratic play of Josh Allen. Maybe 2020 is the anomaly year because Josh wasn't in front of the crowds. And I know that was a ridiculous thing to say, but now it's all the evidence we have, bro. It's all the evidence we have.
It is. And the funny thing about that is, and I don't want to speak ill on radio hosts in Buffalo, but someone called in to our local sports talk show station. I'm not going to say what time it happened. I'm not going to say who fielded the call, but someone called in and said, I think Josh psychologically has an issue processing and making good decisions in the really high intensity moments. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember the entire thing, but she brought up the idea of like cognitive behavioral therapy for him to help him be calmer when blood pressure is really, really high, which is a really good idea.
I think Josh, if he did some CBT, or he did some meditation techniques for an hour a day, he'd benefit.
And these hosts went on and said like, oh, so what do you want us to do? Hypnotize them? And they were like scoffing and making silly suggestions at this, don't want to make it about gender, but this female caller making sport about something that's not totally athletic related. And it was kind of bothersome, honestly. And I think I would love to have Robin on here to talk about that, honestly, because I think Robin could speak to it very, very 100%. Well. We need to get Robin on here to talk about how Josh might process these high intensity moments worse than other people. But yeah, no, it was, I think that there might actually really be something to that caller.
And here's the thing too, though, is it's because it's what you spoke to about like the adrenaline and Joe Burrow, who's even the whole time, is that because you look at Josh and he can be super erratic and he's definitely high tension in even these high situations, but he's also like, they got right down the field and got into field goal position immedially and that's what Josh does also. So when he's on his instincts, and when he's not, you can tell when he's sitting there and trying to process, and you can tell when things are just in the flow with him. And I think what you're speaking to here is something that there's great books out there. Flow is one of them. The Adventures of Superman. Those are two great books about CBT and like the power of flow. And like, these are extreme athletes who do like free base climbing and things like that, who talk about, listen, like you have to when you train your body and your mind, you can start doing things like you didn't know. And those are people in way higher stress situations than Josh Allen's ever been. Those are people whose life are at stakes thousands of feet in the air with nothing else behind them, who master this, saying these things benefit you and can help you be successful. So I think Josh could benefit from that. And you know what? Here's another thing. And this is why I really like when I do consider these things, talking about Allen and honestly any quarterbacks right now in the NFL, because this is the first time I've been the same age as any of these dudes. And as much as anything, like I just like there's certain like life experiences and just things that I feel like every male can relate to, at least an American male, especially too, at least in some way. And it's just interesting to like, I don't know. You just like, there's not enough humanizing in the NFL. I think that's the biggest thing of this podcast. Yes. As much as anything, there's not enough humanizing in the NFL. And we're just not considering that. And that's why if we're bringing this all the way back around to this week's game, I feel like this team is going to be like, they have so much noise that if they're as close as they are and they're supposed to be, and they've been in the last couple of years, everything's turning inwards right now, and they're going to come out guns blazing on Sunday. But it's just interesting because the psyche of this team has been under the microscope all year long, but it just seems like everything is explainable. Like anything that has been going on with them chemistry wise, locker room wise, player by player, like you consider the situations that they've had to endure as a team. The fact that they haven't kind of gone crazy yet all with each other, it is amazing. Yes, it really is.
And to the people who are saying fire Sean McDermott, like, I don't know why you're saying that, because he is the reason this team is still actually a team right now, you know? And
it's so funny because we like sit in two different worlds with McDermott, me and you, because we're like, there's no way, like, he's doing such an amazing job, and he also pisses us off endlessly. Sorry,
he pisses me off to no end, believe me. However, from just a leader of human beings perspective, I don't think you get better than that in the NFL. Speaking of leading human beings, back kind of on Ken Dorsey, I think Jordan Palmer made a great point on, I think it was the Colin Cowherd show he was on, when he basically said, you know, any issues with Josh right now, it's not something that Ken Dorsey is bad at. It's just something that Brian Daboll was great at, and that was reining Josh in, keeping him cool, calm, and collected. Daboll wasn't afraid to get in his face, also because he wasn't as established before Daboll got there. But, you know, Daboll and Josh had that more. I feel like Josh and Dorsey are closer to equals than Josh and Daboll were, you know, where Daboll had some level of superiority over him, where Dorsey feels like he might kind of be bending to Josh at times. I don't know that as a fact, but I feel like there's just like a different dynamic in the relationship. But you know when, after a whole half of not moving the football down the field, you know what happened? You know who talked to Josh and then got him to get them into field goal range? It was Stefon motherfucking Diggs on the sideline. Just taps him on the shoulder. He goes, hey, just use your head. Use your head. We got this. Come on.
That was apparently a bad thing.
Apparently, that's really uncalled for. And another reason why Stefon Diggs should be traded. But literally, and I'm not going to say that's the only reason that happened. Like, maybe the play calling was better. It was better on that last drive. I'm not gonna kid you. It definitely was. Timeout management, really bad. Talk about that in another day. But like Josh and Diggs have that relationship where they can get in each other's face, and they still come together and they still work. And I think that it's going to make Diggs look worse, but I think we need Diggs to get in Allen's face more and just be like, hey, and that wasn't even aggressive. That was him just saying, hey, use your head. We're good. Hey. His hand was out. His hand was out first. This was
That speaks to what we were talking about with Josh earlier. Is clearly like Diggs knew that he was feeling some type of way the whole time and just trying to like, and the whole sideline was, and he was like, I saw so many reports about how Diggs was very active on the sideline the whole game, like doing those types of things because he recognized that they were all stressed the fuck out. And they were like, here we go again.
We're good enough for this. We got this. And that's Diggs's job as a fucking captain.
The one thing I think is crazy, and it's week one. It was literally like if you could concoct a more perfect like week one storm of negativity for the Bills this year, I don't think they could have done better. The situation they were put
I don't believe that there's a writer's strike anymore because I think that they nailed it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's why I was so sure Rodgers was gonna like some music was gonna hit, like Born in the USA or something was gonna play, and we're gonna be like, what's going on? Oh, it's Aaron Rodgers. But like
it'd be like I thought of an artist of who would be playing, and it would have been very funny if I remember. But alas, I do not.
And I just think like they were set up in this game that we knew the tension was going to be high just from the setting and the date and just the atmosphere and everything else. And then just the way the game broke out. Listen, if Josh turns the ball over 4 times, of course they're not winning anything. But I'm just going to go with like the rest of his career that he's not going to do that every game, and he's probably going to play really good this game. And so I'm not taking it like it was the perfect storm of everybody fucking up, same problems rearing their head. Even the special teams problem that we talked about in our podcast from the preseason. Like, oh man, I was kind of concerned about that punt return. That was annoying. And of course, it fucking comes back week 1. They can't cover punts. Like every bad thing possibly that could have happened.
Yeah,
happened. And now everybody's got fodder.
Mm-hmm.
I even took him out of my contenders tier this week because I felt like if I put him there, that I was gonna get like roasted. I was like, I just gotta knock him, keep him there. But I feel like this weekend is gonna be fine. I feel good now.
Yeah, as you said before, and this is a great segue to get into the Raiders, I guess, or what we're looking for to change, or whatever we want to talk about next, honestly. But I do want to say, I said something I thought of something funny before we got on. I didn't want to say it. You said we were thinking it was like they're basically playing the hits. It was like a greatest hits album of everything that could possibly go wrong in one Bills game, and it got me thinking. It's pretty much tracks 14 through 19. Of now that's what I call music 20. Listen to this. This is absolutely insane. Just the Girl by the Click 5. Unbelievable song. Do You Want To by Franz Ferdinand. Beverly Hills. Sugar We're Going Down. You and Me by Lifehouse. And then Fix You. Amazing 6-song string. And I feel like as you go along, they just get a little more somber and sad. Like, oh, Sugar, we're going down. And then Coldplay playing as that final punt return. That was yeah. It was tough.
I said this on Trainwreck Tonight the other day, but my first Bills game was 2002 home opener, Drew Bledsoe's first game, Chad Morton kickoff return for a touchdown in overtime. New York Jets win. So I felt like my life kind of came full circle watching the Jets win on this time a punt return in New York.
Yeah.
In their home opener. I was like, oh wow, I've literally seen everything in my life. I've seen the Bills lose to the Jets in overtime in multiple ways, multiple kicks. That's
beautiful.
crazy.
You deserve that level of closure. I'm happy for you.
It really was. It felt like a level of closure to move on to this week because I really enjoyed the chaos. And I'm a sicko now. If the Bills go down in flames,
I gave my friend 7 seconds to tell me if he needed a ride home, and then I walked out the door. I did not enjoy it. Well, go on.
So I'm excited about this week. I think they're going to stomp the fucking Raiders, and it's not going to answer anything because everybody's going to be like, oh, the Raiders are not that good, whatever. But I just want to see them happy again. I feel like they're going to come out, win 35-12. And now that I say that, I'm like having my anxiety set in, and the offense is going to be slow, and Max Crosby's going to hit Josh Allen like 4 times, and it's probably going to be like 24-17 instead.
Yeah,
but I'm still excited.
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 camps of people that will be here in this fan base after this game. There will be we just beat the Raiders by 35. Everything's fine. And then there will be I learned nothing from this game. This is who we should have been all along. I learned absolutely nothing. Let's see it when we play a contender. And who's the next contender we play? Jacksonville in week 5 in fucking London. So
we do get the Dolphins that week before.
Oh, we do get the Dolphins the week before? Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I'm not sleeping on the Dolphins.
Okay. I'm scared. I'm terrified. As you heard in my voice right there, I am terrified of the Dolphins.
No. That was a great point by you. That's gonna But
that week, Dolphins week, for the Bills are gonna win the next 2 weeks, and Dolphins week's gonna be the most stressful week ever.
It's going to be terrible.
We need our friend Joseph Adam Gase back because he
was great last year.
And I've seen him underneath all of Stephon Diggs' tweets, like, get him out of there. So we really need him. Like, we need his energy because he's awesome.
We really do. No, he was a great guest. He was great. But you bring up Max Crosby, and I'm not like, I don't know where he aligns on the defensive side of the football. I'm not going to tell you he aligns on the left or the right or moves around. That's not me. Go to cover 1 if you want that. I'll just plagiarize their material, and I don't want to do that.
Any technical. If we say anything technical, it's from them. Or Eric.
Exactly.
Or Eric. Anybody.
We'll their tweet. I will read you the HTTPS link of their tweet that I get the information from.
Or Nate Tice. Those are my primary sources. Cover 1 and Nate Tice.
So. But I was pleasantly surprised by the offensive line. Connor McGovern was not great. That's fine. That's okay. If Mitch Morse is healthy, Spencer Brown did not play as bad of a game as that false start penalty in overtime that makes it seem. He was actually quite all right for playing against a top 3, maybe the number 1 defensive line in football.
And Torrance was great.
And that's where I wanted to end. Is Torrance was the first round pick that he was projected to be, that we got at 57th overall. And if that's his peak for the rest of the year, what he did last week, that is a damn good rookie year for a rookie right guard, especially after the Cody Ford saga. I'm not that worried about the Raiders defensive line making life that hard on Josh Allen. I think that there are some things to be worried about with this team. I think the offensive line jumped a couple spots up the list of things not to be worried about.
Yeah, and I think Josh hurt himself a lot in this game too. Like, there's a lot of self-inflicted wounds. That's a lot of like.
So I'm gonna
plagiarize Nate Tice because his video was the one going around of the all 22 of the Josh Allen leap, which is one of my favorite Josh Allen plays in history.
I think mine was Warren Sharp. So you go off and then I'll be back.
Yeah, but you see on that play that he tries to hurdle on third down. That pocket, like, he can just step to the right and it's a clean pocket again. And he was bailing early and he was looking to run. He was erratic. And I think that's one of the things he does when he's erratic is he makes his protection look worse because he bails out early. And I think that he was running into Spencer Brown's guy a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like we flow really well, and that makes me feel like I'm interrupting, so I want to apologize anyways. Perfect. However, Warren Sharp, and I will cite this, 11:39 p.m. on 9/11, Make-A-Wish 23. Josh Allen was pressured on 26% of his dropbacks. Do you think that's high or low?
That sounds a lot.
If you could, out of all 32 teams in the NFL, where would that rank out of
highest?
All? Give me a number, 1 through 32.
1.
No, lower, 10.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Actually, no, 10th lowest of any quarterback. Okay. So it was very good, actually. Yeah. Despite that, though, he took 9 hits, which was the 3rd most, 5 sacks, which was the 5th most, while being sacked on 11% of his dropbacks, also the 5th most. So Josh Allen creating more problems than were there with the offensive line. And that's something that we need to see worked on. And I think this can be a good confidence boosting game for him in his offensive line is what I'm looking for.
100%. And like, listen, every stat we're naming, Josh fucked this game up. Like, they could have,
and he owned it too, which was
he did.
It sucked to hear again, but he owned it, which was great.
And it speaks to his emotional level too, because he was very down in that moment and just was not feeling himself. And I doubt he feels that way this week. Right now, he probably feels like he's going to play like a baller on Sunday again. But that's just the waves that this goes through. He created a lot of his own problems, and he can solve a lot of those things by just having more patience, letting the things come to him. But I do think there's silver linings that you have to look at is, yes, it's the same as last year against the Jets, but it's the same as last year against the Jets. Like, that was a 13-3 team who had trouble against the Jets last year, and that defense might just be their kryptonite. We saw the Browns fucking destroy the Bengals, and they did that last year too. And are we thinking any less of the Bengals this week?
Not really, no.
I don't think the general public. I think the public is on.
Joe Burrow has been notoriously killed by he's lost. I wish I remember what podcast I was listening to, but Joe Burrow, his average margin of defeat against the Browns, he's 1-5 against them all time. Average point deficit of 15 points.
Oh my God.
And I think that Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are both very lucky. They're both very lucky that they've had some top 10 defenses in their division partnered with bottom 10 offenses. To be a great team, there is some level of luck involved. The Patriots dynasty, perfect example. Is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time? Yes. Did he have no competition for a first-round home playoff game for almost his entire career? Yes. You can say both. And I think that right now the Bills are very lucky that the Jets have a putrid offense with maybe the best defense in football. Just like Joe Burrow, maybe not this year now, because the Browns' offense might actually not be shitty. He's gotten lucky over the past few years that the Browns weren't more of a threat in the division.
Yeah.
So that's a weird tangent to go off on, but here we are.
No, but I think it's within the context of this is that the Bills and the Jets just play the Bills really well and play Josh Allen really well his whole career. And it's something, it's all these things you have to consider in week one in a vacuum with everything to project the rest of the season. Here's the thing I'm looking at too. If that's the bad Josh Allen game, I'm sure as hell happy it happened week one at the Jets. Like if you're gonna do it, let's get it out of the way against the team that is clearly I think their most difficult test defensively on this schedule, the way that they play him. And now I feel like everything else, every other atmosphere, every other environment until they get to like the divisional round or the wild card round or playoffs, whatever, is going to be easier than what they had to deal with Monday night. Hopefully, knock on wood, no crazy circumstances come up for the Bills that they would have to be moved around or anything like that. But this feels like the craziest atmosphere, circumstances, game circumstance, everything that happened that they will deal with in this game. And I feel like I'm encouraged by that. And if it gets worse, then fuck, dude, then it's going to go crazy. And we just have to embrace it. Like, I don't know.
No, 110%. And stat that is not stolen. Shocker. I know. I really like to surprise you sometimes. So over the last year plus one game, 3 of Josh Allen's worst passing totals are 205 yards. And these are not the 3 worst, but they are 3 of like the bottom like 6. 205 yards, 147 yards, and 236 yards. Can you guess the common thread between those games? It's Robert fucking Saleh. He just knows what to do against Josh. Yeah. That's just all it is. Like and
you know what he knows what to do against Josh too? Is have elite defensive lines and drop 7 into coverage, which works against every quarterback ever.
Really? Wait, so Jake, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you telling me that other good quarterbacks are going to struggle against this Jets team this year, and they might win a few games that they shouldn't?
I think so.
Shit.
Maybe like they did last year.
Wait, you're telling me that this happened last year and it has the potential to happen again this year because it's basically the same football team?
It's crazy.
Jesus,
I know.
You know what? You are so enlightened. I miss talking to you.
I love seeing. I knew once that game ended, I was like, this week, and I'm sure all of us knew, like, this week is going to be so ridiculous now. And that's why I was like so excited. I was like, please give me all the overreaction. Please bury the Bills. Tell Josh Allen I heard he's not even a top 10 quarterback from people. I saw that Broncos article that said the Broncos were lucky not to draft Josh Allen in 2017. That was great. That was a good one.
You know how bad it was when I didn't get to bed until
they scored 16 points against
I convinced myself for about 45 minutes that the Bills were not making the playoffs. That's how bad I overreacted that evening. And I woke up and I was like, wow, that was dumb.
So I had a weird experience Monday night because my phone was not charging during the second half. And I was like having, like, you know how your charger port gets all weird? Like I have an older phone right now too. Yeah, you got to do that stuff. So I was doing that. And I was like, well, I can't. I'm like, this game's too stressful. Like my phone's going crazy because I'm getting every Bills game. I'm Bills therapist and I love it. I love my friends and family text me the whole time through, but it's just a lot of me being like, they're fine. Everything's cool. Like, that's not that big of a deal. All those types of things. I try to just, stay even keeled away. So I put my phone away and I came back and man, that phone was crazy. That phone looked
some better days, man.
I was reading these. I was like, oh man, we are really down bad. But then I had a call with my brother and we both were like, yeah, like he threw it. Like he's gonna do this. We're kind of okay with it. And I was surprised that we were both kind of all there. But like if he throws 4 picks, if he throws 3 picks, has 4 turnovers, then they're never gonna win. Like you don't win football games that way. The fact that they went to overtime committing 4 turnovers should be the bigger story about this Bills team. And I really think they're gonna be so much better Sunday.
It's like kind of the Chiefs last week and the Lions almost in a way. The Chiefs, the Lions, and the Bills all played what probably might be their worst games of the season.
Yeah. C- games, D+ games. Yeah.
Generously. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs and the Lions, luckily they were doing it against each other. And that stayed a 1-score game. If this is the worst that any of these teams look for the rest of the season, they're going to be golden. There's not many other teams you can say that about. If you said that about the Seahawks right now, you'd be like, nah, they could still lose 10 games when they were thought to be, contending for that division, which is not going to be happening anymore. Last thing on the Bills, I don't know if it's the last.
The Steelers are your Steelers are a case of that too. That's going to be there.
With my father. I am not my father. I am not my brother. No, don't put me in
I had to do it. I'm sorry.
No, I'm a Penn State. I'm happy to say my boycott on football is now over as of actually 30 minutes ago. I said I was boycotting football until 7:30 p.m. tonight. So boycott on football is over.
You did it. No, the Steelers though I think are a candidate of that. That was their worst game. The Niners are, and it's just because the Niners. It doesn't even matter this year. If Brock Purdy's healthy, they're winning the Super Bowl, clearly.
I fucking guess so, dude. Before we go into other things and this sleeping segment that I thought of in the shower this morning, do you think what do you want to see different from the run game, if anything?
I don't know. Them not to draft guys in the second round.
Fair.
It's not even that's not even James Cook hate, but at this point, like they don't use him enough, and it's not worth it. He's not
or in the right way.
And he's not game breaking. He might be very good. He's not going to be an elite running back, I don't think. Maybe he will, but not with the Bills, I don't think ever. And so I just think they use the resources poorly on 3 different occasions.
Yes. See, I think that people were saying all offseason that James Cook could be like a 3-down back, and I think he's very talented. I'm going to get hate. I don't think he's a 3-down back. Why?
I don't think so either.
Because he's 190 pounds.
Yeah.
It's simple as that. We're running a 190-pound running back between the tackles against the 3rd, 2nd, or 1st best team or defensive line in all of football.
Why? I think that's my biggest takeaway.
Why Santa Claus are you taking my Christmas tree? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then we're throwing screen passes to Damian Harris. We're screen passing Damian Harris and using James Cook as a battering ram. Let's try some role reversal. Let's go to couples therapy and try some role reversal with those guys. That's what I want to see. I'm done.
I was wondering I was like, why are these two guys? I was like, why is James Cook or Damian Harris? Why was he the third down back? Are they wearing each other's
jerseys? Is Damian Harris wearing a wig tonight? Did James Cook cut his hair?
Josh in the first quarter threw a little angle route, and I was so expecting it to see James Cook because I was half paying attention. And it's Damian Harris. I'm like, why the fuck when is Damian Harris even? I've never seen him run that route in my life. Not at Alabama.
He's a good running back. Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird to me. It is
was
the usage. And I think that's the biggest thing, I guess. Not just hating on the draft picks of using it on running backs, because I was fine with it at the time, so I'm not going to hindsight.
I was ecstatic about it at the time.
But I think we were on here hyped up actually.
Efficiently,
I just wanted more of a committee. I wanted more Latavius Murray and Damian Harris, because I think their best way their running game is going to be effective this year is if it's a varied running game, and I don't want to see James Cook getting 50. James Cook does not need to be Devin Singletary again. Devin Singletary didn't work. The way they used Singletary did not work. He's not good enough to lift that up. So you need to be varied.
Stop trying to make 3-down backs happen, Sean McDermott. It's not happening. They're fetch. It's not happening.
And Josh Allen and them running Josh Allen on read options, wide read options, never needs to happen again. And the fact that they were doing that, some of the stretch run plays that they were doing, this is really what annoyed me, I guess, is they're trying to run to the outside, trying to get to the corner, running a lot of off tackle stuff. It's why the fuck are you doing this against the best defensive line in the league, who is just getting in the backfield in 2 seconds on these plays? It never looked like it was a good scheme to attack them running. I think Dorsey's scheme passing was fine, and I think Josh missed opportunities. But the running game, I don't think that they attacked the Jets in a smart way that you should run at them.
And here's a great segue back to Dorsey. And I don't know when this show is going to end, so you know. So
That's all right.
if you saw his quote today, my goal is to watch Thursday Night Football. So here we are.
Well, we're pregame at this point. We got 9 minutes.
Yeah, we are at pregame right now, so that's fine. Dorsey's quote today: Buffalo Fanatics put out the video on their Instagram, and I still have it pulled up, so I don't have to search it and blabber more than I already have.
Nice.
Ken Dorsey said they limited some of those QB runs, designed runs, to take that mentality out of it a little bit. I understand not wanting Josh to get hurt. I do. And week 1 may not be the time to deploy break glass in case of emergency Josh Allen designed runs. However, I hope there is a time for that this year, because without that has been the run game. And to rip the Band-Aid off and make this offense stop smoking cigarettes cold turkey and just be like, you know what? No, here's some cloves. Here's a little James Cook and Damian Harris. Here's some clove cigarettes.
I think that's the most annoying thing about the offense more than anything last year is it felt like all this stuff about they were cooking up new things and everything else. It just felt like they were like, okay, James Cook, you're Devin Singletary now. Damian Harris, you're James Cook now. Deontay Hardy, you're Isaiah McKenzie now. Like, it just felt like they were just established their roles and just went forward again when you could have been more creative with how you got these guys involved. Trent Sherfield, I heard all this shit about Trent Sherfield. Barely heard his name.
The Dolphins hated losing him, right?
Yeah, barely heard his name. Gabe Davis, everybody's hating. I mean, they're talking about wanting a better second receiver. I don't know if that might have just been an Allen thing, but it's like, man, I feel like they got weapons there and there's ways to do it. The last thing I want to talk about on this game.
I might have
one thing. Okay, well, maybe it's going to be the same thing because we need to talk about Sean McDermott and his missed opportunities because as much as I gave him credit earlier and said I'm not a guy that thinks McDermott should leave, fire any of these things. I think that teams kill for coaches that can win 10 games a year. They would kill for it. A lot of organizations would. So if we are going to stand up
for Mike Tomlin through his downish years, we are doing the same thing with McDermott. Go on.
If the Steelers are this model organization, then we should probably do the things like them. Right? Okay.
I like this.
So anyways, I'm with McDermott, but there are things he has to get better at. And it's knowing in that moment, once Rodgers was down, it was 4th and 2 and they sent the field goal team out. And in that moment, I said, okay, Sean, I've seen enough of these games. I was like, I know how Sean's going to play this the rest of the way. I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to be a shell. He thinks Zach's going to fuck up. Zach Wilson did not fuck up as much as he thought he was going to. But that's the first missed opportunity because the second one is after that, they're up 13-3. And it's we saw it talked about a lot. It was the penalty they didn't take. And mind you, if they didn't take the penalty, that's one thing. But the context is the play before. Greg Rousseau should have sacked Zach Wilson at like their own 45-yard line, and this should have been a punt, and you go from there.
Yep.
But after you see him in that havoc, how do you not just push him back 10 more yards and just say, let's see what they try to do? And then if they get the 10 yards back, you're in the same spot. And it was just the mindset he went into, and that permeated through the team. And then Josh clearly didn't agree with that mindset and wanted to be more aggressive, and it caused the main friction, I think, of what happened during that game. And it's like you said at the beginning, Dable was a guy I think that wants to go for people's throats. It's hilarious that they lost 40-0 than the week that we're talking about this, but you also apparently had a party Saturday night at his house. That's according to other people. I heard not part
Dable did.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's such a One Seneca Queen of Heaven guy.
Really?
He's such a Queen of Heaven Carnival guy. He's so beer 10. I love it.
I was like, you can't even keep. He's like, well, fuck, the game's at night, right? Like, what do you mean? We got plenty of time.
I love it.
I think that's part of it, but that's something the head coach has to learn is to keep the foot on the pedal. His instinct is to muck it up when he has the chance. He saw the opportunity. He's like, let's get out of here. This game's crazy emotional. I want to keep it simple. And that he needed to play into the chaos of it because I think that would have helped this quarterback out.
110%. Speaking of helping the quarterback out, we'll go like 30 seconds tops here. And then maybe we haven't talked about defense at all. So I'll say a name of a player and we'll each give 3 words about how they went. Okay. So Dalton Kincaid. People are mad that we didn't use him deep. He is a yak daddy. I don't care. We need to use him shallow and deep. 6 yards through the air, 22 after the catch. Love how they use Dalton Kincaid. Use him a little bit more down the field, though. Feel any differently?
Oh, I just want to see him get targeted more. I want to see more targets to the tight ends. They only had 8 targets, but I loved the way that they were I loved the way that they were deployed. And I thought Knox had a really bad grade on PFF. Maybe it's blocking wise and everything else, but I like the routes that he was on. I like the way that Dorsey kind of used him, and Kincaid, same thing. I just don't think Allen looked towards them enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to come. I think maybe they might not have wanted to use Kincaid too much, put too much on his plate.
I agree.
I think they're going to learn that, McDermott even said it. We need that number 2 option. Kincaid can be that. He can be an 8 target a game guy. Mm-hmm. I am absolutely convinced. A few short, a few long. There we go. Defense. Leonard Floyd, somehow most underrated signing of the entire offseason, maybe by any team. Anything else?
No. The one bright spot, I think the biggest bright spot of this game is that defensive line is elite, and when Von Miller comes back, they are going to be downright scary. And I think Rousseau definitely took a step up, like people said, because Leonard Floyd gets the credit for the sacks, but that was a lot of Greg Rousseau making those things happen.
Rousseau gets an assist on that one. It won't show up in the stat sheet, but 110%. Terrell Bernard, a little shaky at first, was fine throughout the game after. Yay? Nay?
Well, Terrell Bernard, I haven't watched the tape of this play, haven't watched an all 22, haven't watched Cover One's all 22 breakdown of this. So I've only seen it happen once. Yeah. But what Sean McDermott I know has a propensity to is chunk plays, and that secondary and specifically Terrell Bernard looked mighty slow when Breece Hall broke through and got 80 yards. Another play, missed opportunity in that game after Josh's arm punt there that he threw, where it was a we saw Jaylen Warren run through that defense. We just saw Breece Hall in the preseason. I mean, we just saw Breece Hall do it the other game. I've seen it too many times. Tyreek Hill is the person I'm thinking of every single time when I talk about speed in the secondary. I've seen Jordan Poyer chase too many people in my life. That's what I'm going to say. And I think I'm just worried about the speed in the secondary. I know Micah Hyde and Poyer both got graded high, but I'm worried about the speed in the secondary for chunk plays and dealing with the speed that they're going to have to deal with. That's Hyde, Poyer, and White. White's still coming off an injury. We don't know what his top line speed can be at this point. He looked decent again, but I think that didn't Garrett Wilson that catch on him in the end zone there too, or was that Benford? Because I didn't watch it after
the Garrett Wilson catch in the end zone was Trey White.
It was Trey. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So
and Garrett played the ball away from. That was one of those like
Garrett was amazing. It was an amazing catch.
It's literally like Tate Thompson in the faceoff dot, Ovi in the faceoff dot, Crosby with the puck on his stick. That sometimes there's just nothing you can do, and that was one of those plays. I could be mad.
So just something I'm monitoring is those chunk plays and the speed in the secondary. Who, while they are great, they are old, and that's just a fact. Like besides Benford, who is the guy that got after it. He was in.
Benford's a dog.
I'm so in on Christian Benford.
I am so fucking in on Christian Benford. Oh my god. Very out on though, and I was talking about it last year, and I don't want to do a victory lap over someone's career nearly being over, but Jordan Poyer is cooked.
That's what I said. I'm tired of watching chase people. Like
he can't do it anymore. So
I'm very worried. I'm very worried about Miami, and it's too far ahead. But to see what Tua was able, and another conversation that we could have is the Chargers might just be complete frauds and implode this year, because I feel like they're kind of due for a year like that. And so that game might look a lot better on paper than it right now than it will in the future, because I'm really not a big believer in the Chargers, especially the way that defense looked. Because that's everybody talks about the Bills being an expensive roster. That's an expensive ass roster. Right?
That is an expensive roster. Oh my god, yeah.
But I'm terrified of the speed in the secondary, so that D-line needs to be elite. And maybe they will be. Maybe they won't be. I think they are right now. I hope Vaughn is back. after London, I would assume he's not playing in London, but maybe he will.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like week 6 is what they're going to aim for. Give him that ramp up, travel, everything. Get to see how he reacts, all that good stuff. And this defensive line could be what carries them eventually. And you know what has happened a lot in NFL history? Wait,
what's that, Jake?
A team in a tough division, as Tim Graham wrote an excellent article on The Athletic about teams that have come out of tougher divisions are the only ones who win in Super Bowl history, basically. And this team could be a wild card team. They could be 10-7, 11-6, and not win this division. And if they have a top 3 defensive line and Josh Allen in the playoffs, that's a formula that's won a lot of Super Bowls. The Ravens, Joe Flacco, Eli Manning, both times they won Super Bowls, and Josh Allen's a hell of a lot better than both those quarterbacks. There's other examples. The Eagles' defensive line with Foles a couple years ago was a major reason they beat Brady. Like in the Super Bowl, that's like a cheat code, is having the elite defensive line, and the Bills have that this year if the health thing breaks right. So that's the thing I'm most bullish on for sure.
Yes. I think I'm good then. I think I've gotten all my Bill stuff out. I think we sped it up at the end pretty nicely.
So what is it? Slept on, sleep on? How are we?
Yes.
What are we? Okay.
Sleep on, sleeping on. So basically, guys, I was in the shower this morning and I thought of something fun. We're just going to have a little new segment coming up called Sleep on, sleeping on. Basically, some things that people are sleeping on and some people things should sleep on. So sleep on this. Sleeping on, you are sleeping on this. Sleep on, it's late because the game already started, but the Philadelphia Eagles. I think you should kind of be sleeping on them tonight. They honestly barely scraped by the New England Patriots. They were kind of handed a 16-point lead that they kind of like the Bills. It seemed I was getting Philadelphia Eagles vibes from the Bills on Monday night. So sleep on the Philadelphia Eagles tonight. I saw in our pick graphic, I liked the Vikings to cover the 6.5 tonight. Love them to win outright, honestly. I saw before game started, the spread was down to 5.5. So I think some sharp money came in on the Vikings towards the end there. So, oh shit, I didn't check my fantasy lineups. Well, that's a shame. Okay. And then one more sleep on is those aliens in Mexico. I don't think they're real. You can sleep on them. I don't think they're real.
Oh, you don't think they're real? See, I think the collective public is just like, bro, like we've known these things. Like you're not giving us any information. I've seen doper aliens in that.
Yeah, no, I'm a big alien guy. Huge alien guy.
I know you are, yeah.
Right? Yeah, no, like Tom DeLonge was right. Respect Tom DeLonge. But just those shoulders, there's something about those shoulders that just don't, there's something
It looks too much like E.T. Like I feel like they just took E.T., made it bulkier and was like, hey, look at our aliens. We have them too.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Its shoulders look too much like curvy and kind of like mine, honestly, which isn't good for me. But
okay.
No. So I think sleep on the Eagles and sleep on those Mexican aliens. I don't think they're real.
Okay. People are sleeping on Jordan Love still. And we're going into last week. And what did he do? He came in, played one of the most efficient games of the week, walked into a division rival, the biggest rivalry in all of the NFL, and made it so bad that McCaskey showed up to Hallis Hall and had a meeting with Ryan Poles and why the coach's name is escaping me right now for some reason, Eberflus, to demand what the hell happened and how did they let Jordan Love do this to the Bears. So I think people are sleeping on Jordan Love. He's already in the Bears' head. And again, the reason I'm so high on him is, name me a bad Packers quarterback. So I'm still just holding out. I'll hold out on that one for as long as I can. I have another football sleep on, and I have 2 other ones. Do you have more? You have 2 more?
So I gave you my 2 sleep-ons. I'll give you my 2 sleeping-ons after you're done.
Okay. Well, then I'll do the same thing as you. I think it's time to – I'm a huge comic book fan. My dad and brother and I, please, this is a cheap plug. Ye Old Comic Shop on Facebook. If you like comics, selling them on Saturday. We have a ton of them. So this is from a pure place of love. It's okay to sleep on Marvel right now. I did not watch Secret Invasion. I'm not excited about the Marvels. I don't think they've earned it right now. Star Wars content is hitting. I know that Ahsoka is supposed to, I haven't seen it this week's, but it's been good. The show has been good. I think HBO, go watch some Game of Thrones, do stuff like that. And I think that DC might be. I mean, with that Superman movie, who knows if Superman hits in next year when it comes out, Superman's bigger than everything. If Superman movie is good, the world's going crazy for Superman and Batman again. So I think if you want to sleep on Marvel right now, I think it's okay. I haven't been excited about the direction. This is coming from a guy who has been at every single premiere, even early premieres sometimes. We had some polls. I've been up at 3 a.m. watching Marvel movies. Sometimes I love this shit so much. It's okay. It's okay to sleep on it. That's gonna make some people mad, but that's okay.
No, I mean, I think there's so much coming out from it right now.
A lot of content.
And there always is. A lot of content, and especially bring it up again, the writer's strike. And also sleep on Drew Barrymore, by the way. No, don't.
Yeah, and Bill Maher. Yeah,
and Bill Maher. Yeah. But I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that at all, honestly. I've never been the biggest Marvel guy, but what's stopped me from getting into it is the mass amount that they do now. And I think just enough is enough.
It's overwhelming. Yeah.
It truly is. It's hard for a casual non-Marvel fan to.
I caught up with my girlfriend because we were like the last year or so, and that I've told her so many times and she was willing to do it and liked it and everything. Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't have kept going if she didn't like it. But I was like, remember, like, these came out over 12 years. We don't need to watch these at like any crazy pace. Like if you need 6 months, like that's okay, because that's how the movies came out too. So it is like a lot, but you got 12 years of movies to go through. So yeah. Like I'm not a binger either. So that's why like I'm with you. Like I can't. I wish I was watching TV in the 90s when things came out at 8 o'clock.
I do agree with that. I like that regimented schedule. I really do.
And I like having a week to like breathe with a show and then come back to it. Yes.
That's why I love Only Murders.
I haven't started yet, but I've heard great things.
Okay, well now you'd have to binge it, but in the season they're in right now, obviously it's coming out as it goes every week, every Tuesday. And I do love that. My sleeping on, people are sleeping on the Los Angeles Rams. Shout out Steve Richardson.
Shameless plug here. This is just work brownie points right here.
No, it is work brownie points. Right. No, honestly, he and I were talking at work the other day, and I said, for years now, they've gotten shit done with Aaron Donald and insert 2 other big names and nobody else. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do it again this year. And what did they do? They got it done at least in the first week of the season. Now, are the Seattle Seahawks cooked? They could be cooked. They might be flambéed. They might have been in the oven a little bit too long. Who knows? Under the broiler, not too great. But honestly, Matt Stafford is still Matt Stafford. He got shit. That's not a schmucky Seattle defense. He got shit done with Puka fucking Nacua, who no one heard of unless you're deep in dynasty or fantasy football like I am. I think the Rams, they're not going to compete for the division this year, but they are going to make a lot of teams have some tough conversations. They're in that category right now. Like, we didn't beat the Rams. That's not bad, but like that's not good. And people are also sleeping on ginger snaps. Laura and I were at Big Lots last night, and she got me a bag of ginger snaps. And oh my God, are they the most underrated cookie on the planet? Just so good. Love ginger snaps.
I agree. All right, my first one, I had a different sleeping on, but as my cat really wants to play ball, he's like, this podcasting has been going on too late tonight. People are sleeping on cats always.
Yeah, we do be sleeping on cats, yeah.
People be sleeping on cats. This cat hates being held, though. He's out. He's watching the cartoon.
Yeah, it's like me.
And so, yeah, people are sleeping on the cats. Don't sleep on cats. Sleep on the Chargers. I kind of already explained that. I'm sleeping. I am a Brandon Staley hater. I think that team is a mess. I feel bad for Justin Herbert, but I think good days are on the way, but they have to go through some torment this year. And I think that's an expensive roster. I think they've got some things to look at, and I don't know. I don't feel good about the Chargers this year again. And I picked them to miss the playoffs, and that defense maybe every defense is going to look like that against the Dolphins. But you thought that the Chargers would be able to make that a game of make it a more difficult game for Tua to play, and he had everything. He could do whatever he wanted the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, including fumble on the 1 yard line and still win. Good for him. Good for you, Tua.
All right, let's go watch some football.
Yeah, let's go watch some football. What any feelings for the game tonight? It's 3-0 Philly right now.
I just hope that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both score touchdowns.
Devontae
I don't
Smith
know
has
what's going to happen
already, so
Yeah, he had a 60-yard catch, but
he did, yes. So good for you. I need AJ Brown and DeAndre Swift. So let's
okay.
thoughts and prayers to both of us.
Yes, let's get. I think there's going to be a lot of points tonight. I like
Yes.
the over. So
Big points game. Big